Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is training, and the title is The Benefits of Training When Not Fully Recovered. So what in the heck am I talking about? So who would work out when they're still beat up? Well, there actually are scenarios in which that's actually beneficial. Now, how beat up you are, would be something we'd have to consider. However, you do not need to be, and in some cases, you don't even want to be, fully muscularly recovered before you train again on that specific muscle. So let's give you an example, and then we'll kind of break it down and tell you how you can use this information for yourself. So recently, my wonderful fiance, which is still really cool to say, Meredith, and I started she is okay with and encouraging of me guiding her through like her workouts. So Meredith does a lot of thinking every day for her job. So it's kind of nice, she said, to just have someone kind of tell her what to do as she goes through her workouts. Now, she's fully capable of making great workouts herself. So she has a history of being coaching at CrossFit, and she's done some aesthetic-based shows. So she knows a lot, but it's kind of nice to kind of give that to someone and not have to have that extra stress on the day. So I've been taking her through workouts and kind of helping with food and everything. And in our workouts currently, we're alternating. We're training every day, and we're alternating upper and lower body days. So that means like on a Monday, if she trains her legs, she's going to train her legs that week on Wednesday, Friday, and then the following Sunday. So it's going to be like basically, 4 leg workouts one week, 3 the next week. But that's a lot of just frequency. So a lot of repetition with not a lot of rest in between the workouts. So sometimes some people could consider that being quote unquote too much or too frequent. So I wanted to kind of go through and show an example of why that's actually beneficial. So back when I first started learning how to do bodybuilding and whatnot, when I was like 15, 16, most of the resources then were telling you kind of like that old school bro split, where you do chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, which actually meant they took the day off, shoulders on Thursday, arms on Friday. Then you took Saturday, Sunday off. Well, if you're not chemically enhanced, and even if you are chemically enhanced, that has proven to be not the best way of doing it. Because if you train your chest on Monday, it's probably fully recovered and ready to go by Thursday. But yet, you're not going to train it again until next Monday. So you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday where that chest muscle is just sitting around doing nothing. And it's wasting time in which you could have been training it again. So more kind of recent knowledge of bodybuilding and aesthetic training says that you should train your body parts twice a week. Some people recommend 2 to 3 times a week. And that actually is what I recommend as well. So I've seen for most people, even my powerlifting, like strength-based clients, and the exception of rehab. Like if we do have physical therapy or rehab clients, they're pretty much doing something every day towards that muscle or that issue, because the muscular damage and stress of those workouts are so low that they can be fully recovered within 12 hours, 12 to 24 hours. So with strength-based athletes, so let's see powerlifters, strongmen, stuff like that, or aesthetic-based athletes, and even some CrossFit styles of training. So there can be benefit to training the muscles 2 to 3 times a week, and that's totally fine. So what some of the benefits are of training the body more often is, like we said, if we have that example of Monday, I do chest. By Tuesday, it's still fixing itself. Wednesday, the remnants of it being fixed are still kind of maybe finishing up. And then Thursday, it's ready to go again. So if you trained your chest on Monday and Thursday, then you're going to be a better use of your time, to where then after Thursday's workout, the body's still healing on Friday and Saturday, and it might kind of be ready on Sunday, but you wait till Monday anyhow, because we're following a 7-day week. So that's a better way to utilize kind of training time compared to days off. So they found in general, if you want muscular growth, you should have 2 to 4 days in between the workouts of those muscles, like the muscle you want to target. So if you're targeting legs on Monday, they say you could be ready by Thursday or Friday for sure. Okay, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Now, what we're doing with Meredith's training is we're kind of pushing the frequency to the edge of what is recommended. By doing it every day means we're doing it every second day, and that's going to be quite aggressive in terms of frequency. But there are enormous amounts of benefit of that. So that's what we want to cover in today's podcast. So the benefits of having a high frequency, and I'm going to give you the ones that are specific to Meredith. So for Meredith, it means that there's always presence of muscle damage. And this will be true of anybody who followed this style as well. So is when her lower body is recovering, there's damaged and recovering, okay, that's going to help her burn off more calories at rest because her body isn't truly resting. It's actually doing the work of recovering those muscles. So in podcast 181, titled Using Muscle Damage for Fat Loss, we discuss this concept in further detail. That if you always have presence of muscle damage, the body is always struggling to fix that damage or account for that damage. Therefore, it's always burning more calories throughout the day. So, on the days she does her upper body, she's creating damage in the upper body while she still has damage from the lower body that she's recovering. And then vice versa. The next day, when she's training her lower body, we're creating damage, and there's still the damage from the upper body that she's recovering from. So at all times, her resting metabolic rate, her resting caloric usage, is higher because she has muscle damage present at all times. Another benefit to us being always fatigued, pre-fatigued, or kind of being always like not fully recovered, is it allows us to use lighter weights to achieve muscular stress. So if she normally could do 20 pounds for 10 reps of an exercise, now we're maybe stuck at just the 17.5 pound dumbbells or even the 15s, okay, to get that same degree of muscular stress. But that's beneficial because it's less stress on the joints overall. So we're not going to annoy her connective tissues in her joints or anything like that as much since we can't use as heavy of weight. So the other benefit we're going to have is there's less stress on the movement issues of her body that we're trying to work and address through. So she has a history of kind of a pinched shoulder, which we've done a lot to fix and only flares up every now and then, where it used to flare up all the time when she lifted her arm over her head. So by using lighter weights, like by being not fully recovered, when we do shoulder exercises, say we're going to do overhead presses, if she's strong enough to do 30s, but she's not fully recovered and therefore we're only doing 20s or 25s, that's going to just allow that little bit less stress on that shoulder joint in general, and that's going to allow her to avoid the issues of that pinched shoulder because she won't be using as heavy of weights, which may cause change of positioning or extra bracing stress or something that could cause the issue to flare up. Another example of this is she has a long history of dance, and her calf muscles are very, very, very tight. And due to her dance positionings, her feet are flared more so than what we would want for best positioning health for squats and deadlifts, for example. So we're trying to get her to do exercises like lunges, step-ups, and whatnot with a different body position than what she's used to. And it's working towards resetting her joints back to a stable braced setting in which she can get to a healthier position overall for regular mechanics like squats and deadlifts. So this is going to help her lower back stress, hip stress, knee stress, ankle stress in the long run. So as she gets older, those joints will actually become healthier and healthier as we fix the issue. Well, since we're making her lift in new positions, if she was at full strength and she had to lift in new positions with really heavy weight, it increases the risk of injury. Whereas if she's already kind of beat up and not fully recovered, we get to use lighter weights, and that's going to lessen the risk of injury. Now, somebody could say, what if she's so fatigued she can't hold the right position? Well, we're going to talk about that as how much fatigue is too much fatigue. But then also, I'm standing there watching her, so I can watch her positions to keep her safe. She also has an extensive, ridiculously extensive history of exercise, so she also knows how to control her own positions as well. So that may be an aspect that is best used for someone who has experience and or coaching, rather than somebody who's new and doing the workouts on their own. Okay? We also have, by being able to use lighter weights, to create the muscular stress we need. It's also lessening the peaks and valleys or the extremes in which we need to put stress on her nervous system. So her nervous system, like each workout doesn't have to be the best workout ever, hashtag, go beast mode and all that stuff, because she's already kind of beat up. So all we're looking to do is to further the muscle damage, not to have to create it from brand new. So we might not have to do a workout of 24 sets of exercises as maybe a normal workout might be for her. And maybe we can only have to get away with doing 16. So that's going to cause us to dig lower valleys or lower stress levels into her nervous system. And this actually lessens things related to the nervous system. So it lessens anxiety, lessens cravings, lessens mood swings. It just actually makes the whole process feel a little more even toned mentally and emotionally than having to have big crazy workouts all the time and having to have this performance factor or a big hit on the nervous system. So also overall in general, just training when you're not fully recovered allows for actually a faster rate of change. Because like we said earlier in that example, if I train my chest on Mondays only, then I'm fully recovered by Thursday and I'm kind of wasting time on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So by always training with your body not quite fully recovered, there's no missed days in regards to recovery days. So she's always kind of training when she's good enough to train rather than waiting for everything to be best, where maybe she waited 1 or 2 days too long. So if you think about that, if you wait 1 day too long a week, it doesn't sound that bad, but you do that for a whole year, and that's 52 days that you've missed of training. Okay, 52 days where you didn't do the best you could have done. So that adds up. Also, the last kind of benefit I'll state is that this style of training, by not being fully recovered all the time, using lighter weights, and having less peaks and valleys in her nervous system stress, it better matches her current diet style, which we're doing is a low-carb diet. So we're doing a diet mostly of proteins and fats. And this is going to help her just kind of there's many ways you can diet. You don't have to do low carb. We talk about that all the time, that you can use any energy nutrient, carbs or fats. And sometimes carbs are best for certain performance factors or performance athletes, whereas sometimes fats are best. Some people feel best off that fuel. And also it lessens cravings and issues that people may have around carbohydrates, emotional, mental issues in regards to foods. So since there's no need for her to have major spikes of energy in her nutrition, so if she's going to do a really big, crazy 2-hour workout, she would have to eat an enormous amount of calories, a lot of carbs, to get that energy needed. Since we're kind of always working out in kind of small waves of intensity and always working out slightly still beat up, the low carb style better matches because she doesn't need to eat the carbs to fuel herself for a massive workout. So we're working out while still under recovered, and this works extremely well for the goals of fat loss and for aesthetic building. Okay, especially in females versus males. I'll save why that's true for another podcast. But in general, females are not going to be able to create as much systemic stress to their body as males can in training, meaning they won't cause as much stress to their joints and nervous system as men will, because they can't lift comparatively as much weight compared to their joints and nervous system thresholds as men can. So we'll leave that go, but if you want more of that, just shoot me an email and I'll make sure I make a podcast on that. So this training while still under recovered, it's fantastic for all the benefits we just named. Now, does it also work for strength athletes? And the answer is yes, but there's always a but. Yes, but it really only works for training days that were focused on technique, not on maximal performance output. So if you want maximal performance, you do have to be more fully recovered. If you're just needing to be working on technique of a lift, okay, so say you want to practice squats to be better at them, or practice bench or deadlift just to get better at the technique of it, then that's okay to do when you're not fully recovered, because you don't need full amounts of weights. So an example of this is somebody might do maximal effort squats on Monday, okay, and then they do their maximal effort deadlifts, okay, lower body again, on Thursday. So if they squatted on Monday and they beat themselves up and did the best they could on Monday, And then all of a sudden on Thursday they come around and they want to do the best they can on deadlifts. Where can they get extra practice on squats if they want it? Can they squat the day after their big squats? Typically, most people would think, no, I can't because I'm not fully recovered. So they can't squat on Tuesday. And then if they squatted on Wednesday, they'd be afraid that they were going to take away from their deadlift on Thursday. So it's kind of competing muscles. They wouldn't want to use the same muscles back-to-back days because they won't be as strong on that second day. That's what most people will think. So then they go do their deadlifts. So they squat on Monday, but don't think they can squat on Tuesday because they're still not recovered. They don't think they can squat on Wednesday because they don't want to take away from the next day's workout. So Thursday they do max effort deadlifts. Friday they're still not recovered from deadlifts, so they can't squat in their mind. Saturday they think, okay, well maybe I can sneak in some technique work on squats because I still have the day off tomorrow on Sunday before I'd squat again next Monday. So most people, when they're trying to add in technique work, they will add it in on that kind of every other day factor. So, or sneak it in somewhere in there. So in a sense to where they're going to squat on Monday, so lower body on Monday, they're going to do lower body on Thursday, which is deadlifts. Then they're going to think they can kind of squeeze it in on Saturday maybe if they do it light, and they'll still be good for the next week. But what happens if you can't train on Saturday? What happens if you have schedule conflicts? And what happens if you have to move Monday or Thursday around due to scheduling? All of a sudden you don't get to do that technique work. Well, if you understand the benefits of working out while you're still under recovered, and we'll talk about what's the correct percentages and stuff like that here in a second, then you can squat on Monday. You can still practice squats after deadlifts on Thursday. You could still squat if you wanted to on Friday, understanding that, yeah, you're going to be beat up from deadlifts the day before, but you're not trying to do maximal performance on technique work. You're just trying to get heavy enough to be able to feel your technique, and that's all you need. Then you could do Saturday as well if you want. So it actually allows you the belief that you can add in more days. There's more possibilities for scheduling, okay? Technique work days. So the same is true of bench, same is true of deadlift, is most people think they only have one day or they have no allowance for extra technique work. That wouldn't take away from other days, but if you do it properly in the right percentages, you can actually fit in a lot more technique work than what people think. So in general, technique work for strength is done within 50 to 80% of the one person's 1 rep max. So sometimes at 80% you just be doing singles. We're typically at 80% of something people could do, 4 or 5 reps of it. They're just going to do singles. So you know that you're under your maximal stimulus for the day, which is going to allow you to still recover, okay? Follow along the recovery process. So if I did a big leg workout on Monday, and then I just went for a 1-mile walk on Tuesday, that doesn't really impair my recovery. It allows me to stay active. And in some ways, getting that blood flow actually improves recovery. So don't think of doing technique work as something that takes away from your recovery. It actually can aid recovery if you do it correctly, correct percentages and correct sets and rep ranges. So for example, if you're doing 80% of your 1 rep max, you really only want to be doing singles. If you're doing 70% of your 1 rep max, you're going to be doing sets of say 3, when really you probably could crank out 10 if you really wanted to, if you went crazy and tried to go at full mode. So the understanding of how to use under-recovered workouts is extremely helpful in aesthetics because it allows you all of the benefits that we discussed. It allows you to lose body fat faster. It allows you to reduce stress on the joints and the nervous system. It allows you to reduce stress on movement issues and actually work on correcting movement issues. And it can better match certain styles of dieting. Okay? Now, for strength athletes, learning how to use under-recovered workouts can allow you to get a lot more technique work and learn how to do your lifts correctly and more consistently, which will make you stronger faster. Okay? Now, is under-recovered workouts safe? Yeah, as long as you're using the proper percentages, rep ranges, and certain movements. So you can do it incorrectly, of course. So if I just squat my 1 rep max yesterday and I come in and try to do a 1 rep max today, that's not typically a good idea. Now, you'll see some people do that in a really high-level, elite-level sports like Olympic lifting, but that's not the norm, okay? Those Olympic athletes are not normal people. So they have insane recovery abilities. and they have just amazing joint and tendon kind of connective strength. So it's not something that the average person can do. So most programs like that will weed out weaker lifters genetically because they'll just get injured or worn out. And then you're left with those genetic freaks who seem to do well in the program. It's not that the program is perfect, it's actually that they're perfect for the program. So just something to understand or consider. How can we know if we're recovered enough to safely do a workout? Well, can you move through the proper range of motion for an exercise? Can you squat correctly? If you can, but the muscles are just kind of tight, but you do a couple reps, a couple warm-ups, exercises, and all of a sudden you can get into full, good, healthy, full range of motions, then you're totally fine to go ahead and work out. But if you have a joint annoyance or pain, wait another day. If you go to try to move correctly and the muscles are so tight they're too restrictive, take that day to stretch. Okay? So if you can do the movements properly, it's just a little bit creaky, a little bit tight, then that's okay to go ahead and work out. But if you have any joint pain, no. If you have any super duper tightness that restricts the range of motion, take that day and do some stretching or kind of movement therapies towards those muscles, okay, that feel tightest. So, something you can do to try this. How can you kind of put this into your own practice? Well, if you're an aesthetics athlete, try training the same body part 2 days in a row. So do compound big heavy movements on day 1, then do isolative lighter movements on day 2. So for example, if I want to train legs, maybe I'll do squats and deadlifts on day 1, and then maybe I'll do leg extensions, leg curls, maybe walking lunges, single leg presses, stuff like that on day 2. Okay, if I'm working on, say, chest, I might do bench press and heavy dumbbell presses on day 1. Then maybe day 2, I do a lot of chest flies and push-ups, something like that. So you do the bigger, heavier lifts on day 1. You do the lighter, more isolative lifts on day 2. So that's a great way. So I've had clients who reportedly had trouble trying to build certain body parts. So I can never make my chest bigger. And we'll train 2, even 3 days in a row sometimes and do that for, say, 4 to 8 weeks. And then all of a sudden they're going to have a big change in mind-muscle connection as well as a change in growth. Okay? What about strength athletes? Well, do the same lift every other day over a 6-day period. So do squats, for example, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or deadlifts on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or bench press on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. Okay, where you do them 3 workouts in a row with a day in between. So on days 1, 3, and 5. Okay, something like that. So day 1, do heavy stuff. Okay, stuff around 85% up to 100%. Day 2, okay, workout 2, after you've had a day off in between, do lighter technique work, maybe only 50-60% for sets of 3. Just working on positioning and seeing if you're moving the barbell or the movement pathway correctly. Then on the third workout, do volume work. Do sets of like 75 to 85%, okay, of your 1 rep max, for maybe like 6 to 8 sets of 3, something like that. So that's a good way to work out when you're still under recovered on the second and third workouts, but do them safely and get a benefit of technique practice, okay, but not worrying about injury. So try this stuff for a change of pace on your own training if you feel like you're in a lull or on a plateau, or if any of your goals match what we've talked about here. So if you have the same aesthetic goals as Meredith, or if you're a powerlifter wanting, or a strength athlete wanting to add in more practice work of a specific lift, these are all helpful kind of concepts for you to use. Okay? So if you like the idea of what's presented in this podcast, but you're not sure how to implement it, email us with any questions. Okay, if they're quick questions, we'll help you with quick answers. If it's more in-depth and or you want some programming, of course, we can help you with that. So as like a paid service kind of thing. So you do not have to pay us to get benefit. I hope that you get benefit from these podcasts, which are free. And if you send us a couple questions, we'll send you a couple answers. I don't want money to ever be the reason why somebody can't be healthy and happy. However, I do want people, if they want the depth of help, okay, if they want the service of a training plan, of course we want to be able to offer that as well. Okay, so you can get free help and you can get paid help. So the paid help is going to get you more attention and more kind of detailed, personalized information, of course. So, but the help, whether you want it, however you want it, is there. So just email us at brutalironGym@gmail.com. Okay, cool. So hopefully this got you thinking and maybe something you can kind of implement into your own training sometime. Cool. Okay, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalironGym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.